Hello and welcome to this Health Hero interview today. This is Kate Cherry. I'm an independent consultant with Arbonne International, and I'm joined here today by the beautiful Hannah Bradley, the curly confidant hair coach from Southwest Wales, and she actually belongs to the Athena Bristol group. So some of you know I run two regions of the Athena network, which is a women's business networking organisation. And Hannah and I met that way because she used her free pass to visit some of my meetings. How you doing, Hannah?
Really good. Thank you so much for having me, Kate. And I'm really excited to be part of this. I think it's such a great thing to do to be able to share such a diverse range of advice for people, because the more we know about our bodies, the better we can take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. And it's been a pleasure to tap into that community we have with the Athena network as well. I feel a bit cheeky poaching, but to be fair, in my groups I represent my Arbonne business anyway. So you and I have talked a lot about clearly hair care. I sell hair care, and so we have a joint interest in a shared interest in helping people reduce the toxins going into and onto their body because of the impact that that has. But rolling it back, tell us a bit more about the Curly Confidants yourself and how you came about doing this work and how you help people. What kind of person do you help?
So I'm a hair coach is my profession title, if you like. And basically the short answer of that is I help people with how to wear and care for our hair. And what that means on a practical level is things like how we feel about ourselves and our image on an emotional level, and how we maybe feel about changes that we experience with our hair or hair loss as a result of things like diagnosed conditions or cancer treatment. It can also include hair and scalp conditions. It can include as well people who have maybe no issues with their hair necessarily, but just want to know that the stuff that they're using is really good for them and good for their hair, that it's helping them to achieve their hair goals and keep their hair as healthy as possible for as long as possible. And then there's things like breakage, split ends, all those things that can feel normal because they happen to everyone, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's not things we can do about them. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. Just because it happens commonly doesn't mean it's a good thing to do. So I help people with information around the practical and emotional aspects of hair care.
And you've also helped people going through treatment and disease, haven't you, as well? To dig a little
Yes, I've been
deeper.
very grateful to be involved with a couple of different charities relating to supporting people through their cancer journey, and been able to do talks for them and blog pieces for them about how to support your hair, particularly after treatment when you're expecting that regrowth to start coming through. How can you make sure that you're giving your scalp particularly the best platform to be able to grow that new hair? The scalp's like the soil of your garden, so you want to make sure that you've got a really healthy soil base so that all of the lovely sprouts that you're going to get, that new hair, is going to be in as best condition as possible. And then how can you continue to support that hair as it grows to help it grow as to its full potential? Really, that's our goal for everyone. And what that means for each of us is going to be different. But as long as you're reaching your fullest potential, where you're at in that stage of life or your health or anything like that, that's really the best that we can ask for.
I love that. And so we call these health hero interviews. So what was the topic that you wanted to talk about? It was some of the pillars around hair care, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I think for me, you could really break it down into three key pillars around our hair care. So we have, first of all, our hair care products and accessories. So of course that includes what we use in the shower, but when I say accessories, that also covers things like our hair bands or our heat tools, dryers, brushes, anything like that, anything that comes into contact with our hair in some way. So when our hair is visible, this hair that we have here is actually all dead. It no longer has access to the nutritional supply of our body in our blood at all. So you could have the best diet imaginable. You could be taking the top quality supplements, and that is great because supporting your hair from the inside is really important, but it's not going to change this. So your products and then your hair care practices, which I'll come on to in a second, are so important for your hair health. So thinking about what's in your products, for example, really key. Just because something is a big name brand, or maybe you see it in the hairdressers, doesn't necessarily mean that it's been made in a way that's friendly for hair. And that's a really sad truth, but that is the case. So things like sulfates, especially SLS and SLES, can be very drying and harmful to hair. Non-water soluble silicones that create a layer that block our hair from being able to absorb all the good things in our
Mm.
products. Stuff like that. You've got to be so cautious about what you use, how it's sourced, because also all that stuff is coming into contact with your skin. The sulfates, especially, are coming into contact with your scalp, which has such a delicate microbiome. We talk a lot about the microbiome of the gut, and that's becoming more and more spoken about, which is wonderful. Your skin, scalp included, has its own microbiome that's just as important to take care of. So, your products and accessories. And then you've got your hair care practices. So, again, you could have really great quality products and really good accessories to go alongside that. But if you're not using them in a hair friendly way, so let's say, for example, you have a really hair and scalp friendly shampoo, but you're really scrubbing, you're going to be at risk of causing damage, weakening those hair shafts, maybe even breaking them before they're ready or pulling them out. So the way that you use your products and practices is really important. And then the third one, which might surprise people, but is also really important, is your emotional health. Partly because stress is related to hair loss, things like deep emotional stress. So it could be stress with work, it could be grief, things like that can really impact our hair and can cause premature hair loss or graying. But also things like maybe comparing your hair to somebody else, or even to who you were. If you're maybe going through the menopause and that's causing some changes in your hair, and you look at pictures of yourself from your 20s and 30s and think, oh, look at what my hair used to look like, it doesn't look like that now, you're only going to be beating yourself up further. Whereas actually, like I said earlier, what's your maximum potential for where you are right now? Because you're not there, but that doesn't mean you're any less beautiful or wonderful of a person. You can't have a really healthy relationship with your self-image and your hair included. So emotional health, products and practices, three really important pillars of our hair health.
I love that. And okay, we're in 2025 now, and the science and research that has progressed over the last, well, it's always progressing over the last decades. We tend to now, we were talking about menstrual cycle and menopause before we came online, and a lot of the information that our parents and grandparents would share with us, a lot of it's been sort of discounted now through science and research. However, what you just said about grey hair and your emotional well-being. So that little nugget that we'd say that, our kids give us grey hair, or, oh, they gave me a grey hair when they went up that mountain or whatever. It's not too far from the truth then,
There
is that
might be
your
a little something
stress.
in that.
Yeah, so some of them are actually they weren't too wrong in the things they were saying. But I love that, and you clearly love what you do.
Absolutely. I find it so unbelievably rewarding and also really, really meaningful and important, because lots of people I work with, or even just people I speak to, even if I don't necessarily work with them directly, don't realize that there is hair help out there. And that, of course, comes in the form of hair coaches, but also trichologists and dermatologists are two great specialists to speak to, especially if you are experiencing quite significant hair and scalp concerns. You don't have to just think, oh, like take menopausal related hair loss, for example. Like many aspects of women's health, we think, well, it happens to lots of women, so I'm sure it's just normal, or there's not really anything I can do about it. But that's not necessarily true. Just because it
Mm.
does happen to a lot of women doesn't mean that we have to just accept it. There are things we can do to support our health, and that includes hair. So always do your research and find out that there are people professionally trained to support you. You don't have to lose yourself in the minefield that is the internet of misinformation and contradicting information and everything. Let people who have filtered through that do that for you, so that then you can just concentrate on, right, how can I support myself?
Absolutely. And that's the whole point about these conversations, whether it's about menopause, perimenopause, or hair health, or cancer care, or whatever it is, having these conversations helps illustrate to people what help there is out there. And it is in the case of perimenopause and menopause, it's symptom management, and that can be a symptom. So you're working it out and realizing there's help available, aren't you?
Exactly. And I think it's the same with things like a health journey. Having somebody
Mm.
like yourself, Kate, makes a huge difference because you can work with somebody as an individual. You know, you're not just some Google related test that says, I'll answer these questions and I'll tell you what supplements you need or anything like that. You work with the whole person, their whole circumstances, their history, what their goals are, how they feel about themselves right now. And you're always that touch point for people to be able to come to, not some AI, not some helper thing on a website, little chatbot, and not necessarily even somebody in a store who knows what the product range are, but doesn't necessarily know what they all do or how they interact with each other or how much to take or anything like that, which is not their fault. They're just not trained in that. And that's okay. You know, they are not, that's not part of their role. But having somebody like yourself, an independent consultant to be able to speak to, I think makes all the difference. The more one-on-one work we can do, because we are one person, an individual, of course it makes sense to work on an individual basis.
We're an experiment of one, someone once told me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, you are an experiment of one. It was my menopause coach, but because we're all different, you're going to have the ABCs, but we all experience different things. And to your point about salons, actually, you're right. As in places where you buy beauty care and hair care. My nephew's other half, is wife actually, is a trained beauty therapist. So she's done all the training, she understands skin. But when she worked in a very well-known French beauty shop, um, she people would say, "What do I have for this? What do I need for that?" And she said to me, because she then became aware of my brand, she was fully aware that basically none of it, they don't do what they say. And I'm not trained on the ingredients on that one and that one and that one. I'm just here to sell them to you. So even though I have the knowledge and I've trained in this and it's my profession, because I'm selling you products in a shop doesn't mean I know what they are and whether they're right for you. And actually, frankly, if they even do what they say on the pot, which I thought, I was like, wow, okay, because we've come to rely on the white coats and the samples and the this and the and actually, thank you very much for saying that, because that does mean a lot. Yeah.
Mm. And the
So
sign of a good hairdresser that you can trust, isn't it? That they're honest with what they know and what they don't know. I've had a couple of hairdressers that have come to me just for a single consultation, but not for them, but to actually learn about what they're using, to talk to me about what kind of products they use with their clients. And is this the best thing? Am I using this in the right way? Or can you help me understand these labels? And I just have such great respect for anybody in any industry who's continually open to learning. And I'm exactly the same myself. I do a lot of, CPD essentially, not that I have to report that to anyone, but just for my own benefit, because our understanding of health, of women's health, of products and things like that is always changing. It's so good to stay on top of that and be open-minded that there's always things we can learn in our profession.
definitely. And and not getting too overconfident in stuff as well, and being aware that you still need to learn. 11 years into my business, I still get, and I got this yesterday when someone emailed me saying I need something for this and this, and I won't say the skin condition, but and she said, you mentioned this product, that's what I need then, is it? And I still get that little reaction in me, which is like, right, responsibility. It's client driven. It's about the person. It's not about me making a sale. Fantastic. She's already emailed me. She wants to buy something, but I need to make sure it's the right thing for her. And not because she'd waste her money, because she gets 90 days money back, but that I'm doing the right thing for her. And you kind of question your knowledge a little bit when people are asking about your expertise. And you're like, oh my God, thank you for thinking I know the answer to this, but let me have a look. But yeah, so thank you so much. Where can people interact with you? What have you got coming up? Have you got any call to action?
So my biggest call to action, first of all, is actually if people can hear this and maybe think a little something that you can do for your hair. With all of the talks, there's always going to be a nugget of information to take away. But if that information just sits in our head and we don't do anything with it, it's never going to change our circumstances. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So if listening to something that I've said has piqued your interest, to whether it's to maybe look at your own products or think about how you're behaving with your hair, or it's triggered something about how you feel about yourself and your image, do something with that, whether that's chatting to me or anybody else, or just starting the research process, even just picking up your bottle of shampoo and looking at the back, maybe more than what you've done before. So please take some kind of action. That's my biggest one. And then the second one is, if you do want to chat or just learn a little bit more about what hair coaching is, then head to my website. Is the easiest place to find some information. So it's thecurlyconfidant.co.uk. And you can also find me on social media. All my socials are linked at the bottom of my website anyway, but I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So do come and find me, and you'll get lots of free information from there as well, where I share tips and tricks about hair and hair care as a whole.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hannah, for your time. It's been really great to speak to you. Um, and I don't mind that we've gone over a bit because it was all really valuable information for people. So we will hopefully be sharing this everywhere, far and wide. So wherever you've seen this, please interact, like, comment, share, because there'll be someone in your community that needs this advice and help with their hair and their routines. I love the point about emotional well-being as well, and how that impacts all of our inner and outer health. So thank you so much for your time, Hannah. And everybody, you know where to reach us. You just click on various links and our names and faces. So thank you, Hannah. Take care.
Thank you so much, Kate.